Please forgive the music. It is not meant to infringe upon or whatever, the whole copyright stuff. I just like this song.
Question
It
is,
struck me yesterday.
will I
You know,
ever
I
leave you?
it
The
kind of
answer
convicted me.
is
I spent so much time going to work, and I bought this equipment that I have here because to do what I'm doing right now. I spent so much time at work, which really isn't an excuse.
question is,
But I spent so much time
will
at work
I ever leave you?
that
The answer is no.
I neglect my responsibility. And this is a responsibility because God has brought me out of a lot of mess that I inflicted upon myself. This song is by the Winans. The question
For he's
is,
so
but,
dear to me.
you know,
And oh, he died that I
I
might
thought
be
about all
free.
the things
I
that
was
I did to
asked this
myself.
question years ago. And the answer is still no.
Not paying attention to what God has done for
Now the
me
question is,
and how He has brought me through.
will I do His will?
My wife is just trudging along, just doing it, and doing it.
Oh,
Free time. She's just testifying and praising God.
I was at home late one night.
Yeah, we're supposed to go to work.
Lord asked me, would I do His will? I told
We're
him
not supposed to be
yes.
so engulfed in work that we don't praise God. I think that it was time for me to get up here tonight. She asked me yesterday, "You gonna do your broadcast tomorrow?"
And all
She's so
I'm gonna
nice
do
when she asks.
is the will of Christ.
And
I
I
was
say,
asked
"Yeah, I'm
this
gonna do
question,
it," but then I fall asleep.
and the answer is
Do it, and I need to be doing
question is,
it.
when will Jesus return? I
Came
want
to
you
the
to know
realization you just have to do it.
soon.
You're not on this earth just because you have a purpose. You have a responsibility.
Look at
And it's
the
my
crisis in
responsibility
Iran.
to spread this word of God.
Russia's already invaded Afghanistan. It's falling in
And I
soon.
have to do that.
It's coming soon. Oh, yes.
I had a stroke
Oh,
May
but I
1st,
can hardly wait for
2018.
Jesus to return. And for His returning, my
At work,
heart does
5
yearn. I
a.m.,
will
all 500
ask
hours.
this question, and the answer is
It was a stroke. It was a tough one. And my wife was there
now the
every
questions are,
moment of my
will
stroke.
I ever leave you? Will
In
I do your
recovery,
will?
had to learn how to walk again.
And
Had to learn how to move my fingers. Couldn't do that the night of my stroke,
will
the
I
day of my
ever
stroke.
leave you? Will I do your will? When will
Took me
Jesus
out of work for about
return?
5 or 6 months.
answer,
When I came back, all my friends were like, "Hey,
yeah, yeah.
I've been at my job for 13 years. 13 years. And I learned a lot on that job. I grew up basically doing that job. Anyway, enough about the job. I had a stroke. I said that before I had a stroke. And God brought me through. I was able to walk and think and talk and all that kind of stuff. Brought a motorcycle some months ago. And able to ride it and all that stuff. Had to go to the hospital to get an operation. And that was a mess because the first time, when you go in the hospital and they're about to, operate on you and all of that, and what happened During my pre-op, my heart rate bottomed out. So that happened, and they brought me back to. They brought me back to, and postponed my surgery until about a month later or so. And then I had my surgery, and during that time of recovery, my wife was there. I went on short-term disability. Didn't know how we were going to survive in that because my bills aren't too high. We pretty much manage our bills, but it was still tough. It was still pretty tough paying the bills. You know, you're getting a full paycheck one moment, and then you're on short-term disability another. God brought us through that. Didn't have to ask anyone for money. He just disciplined us in what we eat, how we ate, and when you're working and you're making okay money, you're able to move money around, and you don't even have to rob Peter to pay Paul. You can just choose when you're going to pay the bill as long as you pay the bill. So, he disciplined us, disciplined me. I could not choose when to pay a bill. I just paid it right on time, and we got through that. My wife got a part-time job though. She did get a part-time job. So thank God for that. And then after I went back to work, she was able to get relief from that and come back to do what she normally does. So that was okay. But I do want to say that we can't get so engulfed in our work that we forget God, because He is the one that gives us the ability to go to work. So I started on a vlog. Well, my wife started a vlog to help stroke survivors, and I've been negligent in that. I do need to confess that I've been negligent in that because of work. But I do have Saturdays off, and I can do my job with what I'm doing now. I can do that, and I should do that, and I'm going to do that because the world we live in today, everyone, is pretty tough. We live in a pretty tough world today. I'm not going to get political, but we all know what's going on in this country, and we have to be on our P's and Q's. We have to do what we're supposed to do, and the only way we can do that is through God. He gives us the ability to see and hear and make decisions. We're a special people on this planet. Out of all of His creation, we are the only ones that have the option of choice. We can do it, or we don't do it. You do it or you don't do it. Put it that way. We're the only ones that He gave that ability to speak, to move by decisions, listen to Him or don't. And there are ramifications for not listening. I mean, just like at work, if a person doesn't listen to me, they're gonna mess up. I've been at this for a number of years, and you're just starting. So hey, who better to know about the ending than the one that created it? You know. Anyway, all we have to do is just trust Him and be in Him. There's no trick to this. There's no special trick. All we have to do is trust Him and obey and watch what happens. You're going to wake up one day, a month from now, and you're going to be like, wow, that happened. That happened. Or you're going to wake up one day and do the same thing. Wow, that happened. Which one are you going to feel good about? The wrong thing that happened or the right thing that happened? I do want to shout out to, because this was part of my decision. And not because, well, this was part of my decision. I was absolutely surprised when I came home one day and said, guess who showed up on one of my videos? Well, rather, commented on one of her videos, and that was Dorothea Merle. And Dorothea Merle is a married lady who um, whose husband has a family, the Merles. You guys may know the Merles. Just look them up. They're very heavily and devoted to Christ, heavily in the Word of God, devoted to Christ. And that convicted me because here we are in 2025. We knew them in the early 90s. I think the last time I saw them was 1995. And oh my God, in that church, Anderson Tabernacle, goodness. And it reminded me of the fun we had in Christ. You can have fun in Christ. You know, you can have fun in praising. And that's what we miss. We miss that. I just heard a gunshot. And did you hear that? I pray for whoever was on the receiving end of that. We don't hear that. Anyway, wow, I heard that. I'm so sick of this microphone with this squealing sound. It's a Rode mic and it's giving me this sound. Anyway, so I had my stroke May 1st, 2018, at 5 a.m. And I was absolutely blessed because when the ambulance came, it started in my arm as I walked into the break room, and I felt the numbness setting in as I'm walking. And I got inside the break room. I finally got inside the break room because it happened in stages. I remember I was absolutely thirsty. I had never experienced that type of thirst. I was very thirsty, and I could barely get change out of my pocket to put in the machine to get a soda. And I couldn't even drink the soda. My face started to numb. My left side was numbing, and my neck was getting numb. My chest was feeling strange. My arm definitely was feeling strange. I could barely lift it at one point. And then I couldn't walk. And I had a manager who looked at me, and everyone started looking at me in the break room. And the manager said, "Savage, you okay?" I was like, "I don't know." I could barely talk. So he lifted me up and tried to get me in the conference room, and I collapsed then. And the ambulance came and they got me. And when they got me to the hospital, they gave me this stuff called a clot buster, so I wouldn't have an aneurysm or whatever. It was a clot buster, and it worked. And I remember being in recovery for a long time, learning how to walk. By the time I got out of the hospital, it was about a month later, and I went home to recover more. And that's when my wife was really by my side. Got me to the pharmacist, got me to the hospital from time to time, checking on my blood pressure and all of that. So you gotta take care of yourself. Same job, I was just putting myself under stress. 'Cause none of this stuff belongs to us, The things on the job don't belong to us. I think I care too much. I don't know. But I did change because it does not belong to us. I always joke about going to work. Every day I'm at the hand wash station and I talk to a lot of people. I say, well, it's time for me to get in here and act like I care about it. I hear, I hear a commotion outside. I don't know what's going on, but I hear commotion outside. Hold on, y'all. So anyway, I lost my sister, Amy. Amy, Amy died. Oh God, what's going on out there? My sister died. She was the star of the family, Amy Austin. I had to get over that. I had to calm down off that because of her husband, who was sitting there while she was dying. She came home early on a Friday. She wasn't feeling too well. And I'm not going to tell you what she died from, but she didn't have to die. She during COVID, we trusted God. We would not go take any shots, and we just used common sense. How, anyway, my sister was the star of the family. She had her doctorate degree. She was a dean. Her name is Amy R. Savage. You can look her up on Google. You'll know it's my sister because we look just alike. She doesn't have as big a nose as I have, but but we look just alike. Her name is Amy R. Austin. She married a man named Steve Austin, astronaut. Man, Barry, he's not an astronaut, but he was in the Navy. Anyway, she had. I have three nieces. I hate to use the word had three daughters, but I have three nieces. And my mother was there because I lost my father also in 2021. Same situation. You can't trust everything that man tells you. You just have to trust God. When he says, do this, just do it. When he says, don't do this, don't do it. And we were afraid that if we didn't take the that shot, that we were going to be banned from work. I would be banned from work. That never happened. And we were happy about that. We just had to use common sense. We took a test every week. We had to take a test. And I always passed. My wife didn't have to take a test because she wasn't working at the time. She was doing this. She was doing this right here. And that was great. That was great. She was doing this. And what was going on with her was she just trusted that if I'm not sick, she's not sick. So that was awesome, you know? So we were happy about that. But they did their thing. And in fact, when we went to visit them after my father died, my sister gathered my mother up, and she stayed with my sister for a little while. And they had a nice big house in Atlanta, great big house. They both made pretty good money, my sister and my brother-in-law. Anyway, he let her come home. She came home one day very sick, couldn't handle it, and she stayed in bed the whole weekend while he stayed in his man cave. And my mother had to nurse her till that Sunday. The whole weekend passed. The Sunday came, and she thought she could get out of bed, and she fell to the ground, and she felt like she was fainting. Even while she was on the bed, she felt like she was fainting when God finally told her that you're dying. And he runs upstairs and he says, don't fight it. I get angry about that because when my wife is dying, I'm going to say, hold on. So that happened. God had to bring me through that because I was very upset over that. Absolutely upset. I'm still upset about it, but I'm a lot calmer than I was. And it's been since 2022. My sister died May 1st, 2022. And she died. So God has really worked with me about that. Worked with me about a lot of stuff. My mother came to stay with us for a little while. And that kind of did its thing. I'll get into that later. But anyway, God has really blessed us. I'm getting better with my walking. And I'm stronger. And after my operation, after that incident that happened with my heart, before the first operation, and then after the operation a month later, I told my wife we need to start living, and my wife was like, well, buy yourself a Harley Davidson. She was joking about that, and I called her bluff. So I went and bought a Harley Davidson, and I ride that thing. I ride it. I'm very careful. So God has really blessed us. I'm able to do my job better. I've got a better attitude on life now. I do know that I don't want to go back to the person that I was. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Lived in Los Angeles for some time, and that was crazy. That's a whole nother world. Los Angeles is a whole nother world. We grew there too. Saw a lot of stuff in Los Angeles. Met a lot of people in Los Angeles. My wife was very active in Los Angeles with the entertainment industry as far as Hollywood, red carpet events and all, because she had that look. You know, everything is about vanity. Everything is about, you know, can you look the part? Very beautiful woman who was able to go and work in Los Angeles and make pretty good money when it came to red carpet events and things like that. And that was something. And it's easy to get lost there. I'm not trying to down Los Angeles because I like Los Angeles. It's very expensive to live there. Very expensive. The traffic. I'll give you an idea of the traffic. We lived in the valley. Can you imagine that? We lived in the valley. Northridge, in fact. Well, when we first we lived in the valley. We lived in, years later, we lived in Los Angeles, which the city part of Los Angeles, I like to call it downtown because we were living in Echo Park. In Echo Park, the place that we lived in Echo Park was like a 10-minute walk from Dodger Stadium. So that was nice, you know. Made some very good money in Los Angeles. We bought like 3 cars there. We lived in an area of Los Angeles that used to be a heavy gangster area until Rampart Division of LA cleaned it up. Rampart was kind of corrupt until they cleaned that part up too. But anyway, we were able to survive in Los Angeles, as expensive as it was. But I'll give you an idea how crowded Los Angeles was when we were there. From the valley to my job, I had to be on the other side of the 210. 210 runs east and west, and I had to travel east past the 605. Sometimes I would take the 118. But if I wasn't on the 118 by a certain time of the morning, about 6 a.m., I wasn't getting to work. Well, I wasn't getting home. Going east was not as bad as coming back from Azusa to Pasadena. From Azusa to Pasadena was on the east end, um, and you had to be on the other side of the 605 by a certain time. So I would get off at 4:30. If I wasn't on the other side of the 605 by 5 o'clock, which is only from Azusa to the 605, is maybe 15 minutes. So I would get off at between 4 and 4:30. If I was not on the other side of the 605 by 5 o'clock, my ride home turned from 35 to 40 minutes to 2 hours and a half. It would take for me to get from Azusa back to the valley. At that time, we lived in the Tahunga area. It's a very nice area, y'all. And then we moved to Northridge. Northridge was my favorite place. That was my favorite place. Anyway, let me tell you this thing about Echo Park. We were unique in Echo Park in that there were a lot of Hispanic. Shout out to the Hispanic community. Shout out to the Mexicans. They really took good care of us in Echo Park. And when I say they took good care of us, we breathed and walked up and down the street freely. And the reason why we did was, well, we proved ourselves as far as being nice. But it turns out we had a avocado tree in our backyard. We didn't eat much guacamole, even though it's good. But we didn't eat guacamole like that. We had an avocado tree so big that the avocados would just fall to the ground. And my next door neighbor, hey, can I get an avocado? Man, okay. You can have an avocado. They're in the tree. And that tree was so big that it would grow over his gate. But he was so respectful that he didn't want to touch the tree. So he would come and knock on the door. Hey, can I get an avocado? Bro, you can have all the avocados you want. I don't care. And all the neighbors got wind of that. Hey, bro, you knock on the door. Can we have an avocado? Look, man, it's an avocado tree. It grows. They fall to the ground because we really don't eat them. We don't know too much about avocados. And, you can have them. You can have one. As long as you close my gate in the back. Come to the back, grab an avocado, grab 2 avocados. I don't care. Just close my gate. Oh, yeah. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I did not know the language. Oh my God. So all the other neighbors, our other neighbors, would be like, hey, can we have an avocado? You can have the whole tree if you want. So, we would walk, there's a little store. I love that store. It was a little store by some Koreans that would have my favorite drink, which was, they were the only ones that actually carried the cranberry juice by Ocean Spray. I love cranberry juice, and I love Ocean Spray cranberry juice. And it's just so good. And because I had a kidney, oh, that's right, I donated a kidney to my father in 2007. So because of that, I jumped on the cranberry juice. Anyway, walking from our house to the store used to be, not for us, but its history, that was a kind of dangerous little thing. But because LAPD cleaned the area up, we didn't experience that. But let's be honest, black people were not the greatest people when it came to the minds of the Mexicans. They weren't. But we were protected in that neighborhood. Everyone was so nice, and everyone would be, "Hey, hello, Mr. Savage, how are you?" And even the pit bulls would stop barking at us when we walked by. They didn't want to lick your hand. I didn't let them lick my hand because I didn't want them to bite it if they got a flashback from somebody that might have looked like me. But everyone was just so nice in our neighborhood. And then we had a lemon tree in the front yard. So, I mean, we were just almost like royalty in that area of Echo Park. And didn't even know it until later we found out why they loved us so much. It was because of the avocado tree, because I did not have any claim to the avocado tree. I did not, care who got an avocado tree because I didn't plant the tree in the yard. I didn't own it. We were renting the house. We didn't eat the avocados, not like that anyway. And I was like, why are we going to let them fall to the ground and rot? There are people right around us that want avocados. They love them. And from what I understand, avocados are kind of expensive in the grocery stores. So, that's the avocado tree. Lemon tree, we love the lemons. I mean, to go outside and grab you some lemons and make lemonade. Oh, man. We had so many lemons that fell to the ground. We couldn't get them all. But it was a great neighborhood. Echo Park Avenue, 1700 block. Look it up. It's great. We lived in a nice cottage. Then we were in Northridge. Northridge was great. I love Northridge. We were deeper in the valley then. Over by Canoga Park and all that. That was great. And it was just a great experience living in Los Angeles County. It was a great experience. Do not live in Riverside County. Don't do it. I'm going to leave that alone. But we had a great time in LA, but, we came home because my wife's father died. And that's when everything started with this. It was a culture shock because we were so used to being in LA, and then we come home and things are different. They're absolutely different between the West Coast and the East Coast. But we got back to who we are, and we got further in Christ. And especially after my visits to the hospital, the way I was treating my body and things of that nature. But I just want to tell you, this isn't going to be my last time up here. I wish it weren't my first. I'll get into it the way I'm supposed to. But yeah, I want to shout out to the Anderson Tabernacle family. I don't know how many people are still around, but I do want to shout out to the Merle family. It's great hearing from you guys. When my wife told me, I was like, get out. Really? Because, you forget about a lot of stuff when it's been so long. And I'm so sick of this microphone. I'm so excited about the technology, but I'm getting all this feedback. Well, all this high pitch mess. I like this microphone right here. But I don't feel like standing. And it still gives me a little of that because of these headphones, but I do need to listen to, what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm just going to record this. My wife's going to upload it, and I'll get deeper into my little program here. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Eric Savage, and I am Pam's husband. And I like this song, man, by the Winans. I'm gonna play it again. It's great. I love this song. He's got some other music that before I go to work I always listen to. But I think I'm gonna end it right here with this song. I love this song.
Question is, will I ever leave you? The answer is no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no.
What about y'all? enjoy and love each other.
Question
Take care of
is,
each other. We don't have much
will
time
I
left. We
ever
really
leave
don't.
you? The answer is no.
Everyone's got their ideas. We don't know
Oh, no.
when the time is coming, but it's coming. It's coming. I feel it. Everyone that is in tune.
Oh, I love the Lord.
And that's not to scare
For
anyone.
he's so dear to me.
I hope I'm caught up in the rapture.
Oh, he died that I might
To
be
be honest
free.
with you, I think my wife's
I was
going to be
asked
caught up
this
in the
question
rapture.
years ago, and the answer is still no.
I'm going to miss her if I'm left here.
Now the question
I want to
is,
be caught up with her too.
will I do his will? And it's yes.
I'm signing out for right now.
Oh,
God bless all of you. All of you.
I was at home late one night. Lord asked me, would I do his will? I told him yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm presenting my body a living sacrifice, and all I'm gonna do is the will of Christ. I was asked this question, and the answer is yes. Question is, when will Jesus return? I want you to know. Soon, 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 yeah, soon. Look at the crisis in Iran. Russia's already invaded Afghanistan. It's falling insane. It's coming soon. Oh, yeah. Oh, but I can hardly wait for Jesus to return. And for his returning, my heart does yearn. I was asked this question, and the answer is real soon. Now the questions are, will I ever leave you? Will I do your will? And when will Jesus return? No. And yes. And soon. Yeah. Soon. Yeah. Soon. Will I ever leave you? Will I do your will? When will Jesus return? And the answer, soon, soon, soon. If you've questioned when Christ is coming, the answer is